Hello, my name is Eric, and I'm doing another one of my photography vlogs called One Body, One Lens, One Roll, One Day. I am here at Schliemann Nature Preserve in Lafayette Township in Medina County. I was here once before when I did the N70 with a flash. I think it was a 35-105 lens. Today's camera is a little different. Today's camera is a Rollei 35. This is a 1966 model. Then back when I think it's 66, maybe it's 62. But back when it was introduced, it was actually the smallest full-frame film camera. There was a couple of half-frame cameras out there by Olympus, I believe, and a couple others. So this was the smallest full-image 35mm camera at the time, and it gained a lot of popularity. Now this does have full manual controls. I do have a aperture dial. I do have a shutter dial from looks like ½ second to 500th of a second. F-stop from 3.5 to 22. The lens is the standard built-in Tessar 40mm 3.5. So it's a decent lens, not super bright like some of the 2.8s or 1.4 lenses that are out there, but it'll do good. Today's film, I'm going kind of standard. Ilford's HP5. It's a 400 speed black and white, current stock. Doesn't expire for another year yet. I just picked it up about a week ago, and I am going to walk through this woods and see what I can get, and see how this what is it, 80-year-old camera can do. Let me see what this 60-year-old camera can do. All right. Okay, so this guy loads a little bit differently than most of the other cameras that I've shot so far. For this camera, the back and bottom base plates actually slide off. There's a release switch on the bottom of the camera. And instead of going from left to right, it goes right to left. So it took me a little bit to figure out how to get that all connected up. And there's also a little pressure plate that you pull out of the way, load your film, and put your plate back down just to help keep everything nice and flat and even. But it's all loaded up now, and it does use a PX13, aka a PX625 battery. Back in the day, that was a mercury type battery, which they are not allowed to put mercury in batteries anymore. The mercury battery was a 1.35 volt. The current versions, you can either get Cell's Zinc Air battery at 1.35 volt. They don't last quite as long, but you do get the accurate metering. Or you can use any Alkaline 1.5 volt 625 battery. Now what that will do is that it might throw your meter off by about a half a stop. Now if you're shooting slide film, that was very, very critical because half stop either way could be the difference between an excellently exposed slide and one that just isn't there. But with print film and negatives, it's not as critical till you start getting to a stop or stop and a half variance. So I'm okay with the give or take half stop black and white film. I'm going to shoot it normally. And I got to set the ISO for the 400, which is what I got. And I'm actually almost there. So now I'm at 400. All right. Let me go in the woods and see what I can get. All right, so inside the viewfinder, I do have some framing lines because I am looking through a window, not the actual lens. So when you shoot these type of cameras, and I mentioned this with the twin lens camera, is that because you're not actually seeing through the lens, just be a little careful. Only thing I got to be careful is make sure my finger doesn't go in front of the lens because I'm not going to see it in the viewfinder. The other thing that I did was I went out to where it was sunny and gauged the meter against the typical sunny 16 rule, and the meter does seem to be pretty correct. So I'm going to trust the meter on this while I'm underneath the canopy of the trees, which is about maybe 3 stops dimmer, 4 at most. Right now, my current readings with 400 speed film f5.6 at 125th of a second. So I should be able to handhold this. And all right, let me get some more shots. All right, another interesting thing they did with this camera is they put the shoe mount for the flash underneath the camera, because I think it was like a brick flash that would kind of look like a motor drive or something like on some of the other cameras, but would come off the bottom. And the film counter is underneath the bottom too, which was kind of interesting. So typically anything that would have been on top of, like on the K1000 or some of the other bodies, your hot shoe, your winder, your film counter, your rewinder were kind of all sitting on the top. But because of the size and how the mechanics had to work out, they moved some of that to underneath the camera. So I've got the rewinder, the film counter, and the flash shoe all underneath. I've got the winder and the shutter button and the lens release when I pull the lens out up on the top, with shutter speeds, apertures, and focuses on the very front. So interesting way of doing it to keep it nice and small, compact back in the day. And let me see what else I can get. All right, as you're out doing your own photography, film or digital, you may want to check in with some of the local photo clubs. There's probably half a dozen here in Northeast Ohio. They do classes, they do presentations, they do field trips, they do friendly competitions. I've met with the people that have done the Medina County Photographers of the Parks. I've met the people and I'm part of the Cleveland Photographic Society. I've judged for Lakewood Photographic Society. I don't think they're around anymore. I think they kind of disbanded because of COVID. But Erie Shores Photography Club and Cuyahoga Valley Photographic Society. I know some of the guys in each one of them. And the nice thing is when the clubs have field trips and stuff like that. Now some of them are for members only, so pay attention to their calendars and see where they're going, see if you got to be a member or if it's just kind of open to the public type of thing, and they're just kind of randomly meeting up. I've done a couple of those. We've had private group field trips to places like Mansfield Reformatory. So before the public even got in, we got in there and were able to shoot for about 3.5, 4 hours before the public was allowed in. So almost full access. But then on other occasions, we've met up at like Hale Farm during the Civil War reenactment, or at the zoo, and it's not a official club thing, just several club members kind of bouncing ideas off of each other, mix of different cameras, whether it's digital or film, different lenses, short lenses, and you can bounce ideas off each other while you're shooting. If you come across a little snag saying, hey, why is my camera acting like this? Somebody might be right there to say, oh, hey, I had that experience before, here's it is. So sometimes going out with other people, whether it's an official club or just 2 or 3 of your friends that also enjoy photography, sometimes is a good thing. Sometimes it's just nice being out on your own. I've been doing this little vlog, on my own, but at 1 or 2 of them, I actually went out with my wife and did some shots. So it's, whatever you prefer. And I'm going to get some more shots, and I will be right back. Now this is a manual focus camera, but I think it's more of a zone focus, because you're not seeing a split image, or at least I'm not seeing like a split image inside the viewfinder, and I don't think there's supposed to be one because I'm not even seeing a ghost of an image. So I kind of have to gauge my distance to subject, and hopefully my depth of field covers anything that I misgauge. So about an f8 125th of a second on my focus scale here, if I kind of set my focus upright, I should be getting anywhere between maybe 7 feet and 18 feet in focus, which is a nice little gamut. If I'm a little short or a little far, depth of field should grab it. So just be careful when using the lower f-stops on something like this. Your range between closest point of focus and furthest point of focus is a little bit more critical. But on landscape type stuff where I'm shooting, 5, 6, f8, f11, depth of field's kind of helping me out. Alrighty, I'm going to go down the path over there. Be right back. So a lot of these, or not a lot of these, but some of these little compact rangefinder type cameras, the nice thing is you see the focus scale and everything else like that. But in the area that I'm in with all this green foliage, you could actually want to shoot some infrared film, and Ilford SFX, Rollei's infrared, Agfafit's infrared, if you found some old classic HIE infrared. The catch would be, at least on the HIE, maybe even on the others, you want to pull your focus back just a little bit. But there is no infrared focus indicator on this particular lens. So in some of the old manual focus, you'd see a little red diamond just off center of your normal focus mark. This one does not have that. So if you were to shoot infrared through something like this, I would make sure you're shooting a little bit deeper of an f-stop, like f8 or f11. That way, if you miss your focus, your depth of field would help you grab it. All right, I got a couple more shots left. I am about shot 20 at 24. Be right back. All right, I just hit the end of my roll of film. So this one does not have the button underneath it like a lot of the other 35mm SLR type cameras. This one has a switch up by the viewfinder, R versus standard. So I'm going to move it up to R. I'm going to take my arm. I'm going to be able to rewind it, I think. I'm going to retract the lens. I can't retract the lens. Alrighty. There we go. Got to have it all. Got to have your rewind lever all the way, like at a high noon position. Otherwise, it wasn't releasing that gear that typically is there. All right. So hard tension in this particular one. It's medium tension. Some of the other cameras. Typically, you will wind back about as many shots as you had. This is a roll of 24, so somewhere around 20 to 30. And I just felt it let go. As you can see, it's now a lot easier to spin. All right, and then I mentioned before that the bottom slides off, so I'm releasing the bottom plate, pulling the back and the bottom, and there's my roll of Ilford film. Alrighty, if you see, photos will be posted at the end. If you like the photos, give them a thumbs up. If you like the location or the camera or the film, feel free to also give a thumbs up or comment on which images that you like. Kind of some cool stuff here. This is one of the really cool cameras that I had said I had in the past. And back together, lock it up. And I'm going to retract the lens. Now usually, in order for you to retract the lens, you've got to have the camera in a cocked position. So finish the wind with no film in it, retract the lens, and now I can put it away. All right, we'll see you next episode. Feel free to give it a thumbs up.